short U-turns, pretty much everything you might see in the game is all on this track. Short and sweet, takes about 80 seconds to finish it, 70 seconds to one lapper. There's also a convenient little circle in the beginning where if you're just getting started and you're trying to practice your drifting, just drift around that circle, drift around the circle, get your timings down and get feeling good about it. And then once you get good, just grinding this track over and over again. It's simple, right? Like it's not going to take a long time. So it's one of my personal favorites to grind and just to practice. So love seeing it as our first track here. And I expect, this can go either way on this first lap, on this first track. There's a lot of kind of technical turns at the end. So you really want to make sure that you're not really close to anyone else. You got to leave space. It's just the reality of this track. If you're too jumbled up, it can mean disaster as you get to the end of the lap here. And we all know about that. You got to avoid that, especially on a one lapper here with so many competitive players. Everyone's going to finish very close to each other. So I think this is
How
a
exciting.
Bronxy. I think this is a Bronxy specialty track. So I'm looking out for Bronxy on this track. But obviously, this is the finals. We got 8 of the best players in Kart Rider, like North America right now, which is kind of cool.
Well, North
And
America and
anything can
EU
happen. Yeah,
and
sure.
and
Across North
EU.
America and I guess the West is what I meant to say.
Yeah, but I will
Uh,
say, I mean, looking at who we have right here, obviously we I don't have it specifically up right now, but I know we already had previous data for a lot of these players. We have 4 United States representatives here in what
right.
was otherwise a mixed tournament. We had signups from all over the damn place, right?
Love
So
it.
this shows the power of the Western Car Rider scene, and we're lights out and away we go here on the Boom Hill Tunnel, Axel.
Yes, important if you feel like it, getting in first here, getting out to the front and treating it like a time trial, that could be a great way to approach this. Get out to the front. Oh, as Freaky runs into a pillar, that's kind of tough. Still room to come back. It's okay to have a little, I'm watching Freaky right now, by the way, because very impressed by his semifinal run. But it's okay to have a little crash here or there in the beginning, but this is where it gets really fun on this track. The turns start, and then you have this highway. It's all about taking those tight lines, trying to draft off of the racer in front of you. And it's possible to make moves through here. Just take those tight lines against the wall, try to make some passes happen. There are some wider spots a little later where you can make some moves, but we see Freaky kind of cutting through this area, already making up 2 spots, getting into the top 5.
Ooh.
Right now, Bronxy in the front. I might be a good commentator. I said something about that, I think, before this even started. Koalia in second, Noodle in third. This could go either way. And look at this, Freaky taking a little shortcut, trying to get away with it, trying to make up a second or two. This is a very dire point here. There's some little ramps here at the end. This is one of the coolest turns in the game. It's very hard to navigate. We see a couple crashes, and here are those tight ramps at the end. Got to be really careful here. Lots of ways that this could go wrong, and we see Koa crashing and Freaky getting pushed to the very back. That's what you have to look out for. Noodle in front, Broxy in second, Windcloud in third. This is also a little technical at the end here. You can make a little move here or there to pass someone. It is possible. And everyone finishing so close. And look at that little bump, Freaky on the Magic to say, you know what, I'm going to sneak into 6th place. Yes,
I
at the
saw.
back. And Noodle out in front, 121. That's a quick time. Broxy second, Windcloud third.
Yeah, Noodle. I mean, I was watching that POV, and oh boy, was I impressed. I mean, you talk about those ramps being a little bit of a challenging spot, and the last section being technical. It didn't really look like it watching from Noodle's POV because he was
Right.
just nailing it. I'm talking about this man was like almost clipping pixels with the barrier, but he didn't hit it. No problems. Just Apex took it like it was a time trial, like you said. It was
Yeah.
a pretty emphatic performance in that way. Pops out to the lead here first.
Yeah, and there are some gnarly points at the end of that, uh, at the end of Boom Hill Tunnel. Like, there's a lot of really tricky moments where you kind of have to, if you're in front, it is possible to play a little safe. Just go a little bit slower. But if you're a little bit further back, you can kind of go YOLO and send it. You know what I mean? Play it super risky, but there are some crazy lines you can take to really make up a lot of room. So
Yeah,
love seeing Boom
there's
Hill
a
Tunnel.
phrase I haven't heard
And
all
this
night.
is actually a very interesting contrast. We're going from Boom Hill Tunnel, short, sweet one lapper, to now one of the longest tracks, the 3-minute race. Going from an 80-second race to a 2-minute race here, 120-second race, or sorry, 3-minute race, 180-second race. So it's like almost 3 times as long here, and plenty of ways to make moves here on this track because it is a long way, 2 laps, and we'll see. Obviously, all these players can be very experienced on this track, one of the oldest tracks in our pool, as I've said, and yeah, I kind of when it comes to this track, I think it's like if it's a favorite, you're happy. It's not my favorite track, but it's not my worst track. So I'm in the middle of the road. So it kind of makes me wonder which of these players really likes this track.
Well, I mean, for a game called Kart Rider Drift, it might put some newer viewers at odds to see so many straights, you know, on a quote-unquote drift track. But you got to be able to make those weaves happen in the straights. I mean, it's something that we commented on earlier. You know, a couple of players that we called out in particular for you know, having I guess the propensity to catch up on the straights. You know, it's about maximizing your speed while still weaving enough to get that nitrous and be able to utilize it through said straights. And of course, you know, cornering is important, but we see a lot of players who are really talented at cornering in this lobby. So I feel like we might see a little bit of a standout performances in that way. It's a very tightly knit pack here. It looks about a second of difference between first and eighth so far here. And on a 2-lap course for 3 minutes, there's still a lot to be developed here.
Not too surprising. Not too many disasters to be had on this track, just to allude to what we always talk about here. You know, not really a lot of places to fall off, not really a lot of places where you're losing handfuls of seconds. Pretty straightforward track here, so I do expect all these guys to be very, very close at the end, and that brings up the question, where do you pass? Where can you really take advantage and try to make some cool lines happen? And I would say probably on the straightaway coming up. After you get through this point, there's some weave, there's some turns left and right. Then you have a real big crash there from Koalia getting knocked to the back, and that's really tough to deal with in such a competitive lobby. But here's that straightaway that I was kind of talking about. This is kind of where you make your moves. This straightaway, you can take some tight lines, and also there's a bridge at the end of this straightaway, and then there's a big sweeping downhill. And that's another place where you can kind of send it. It's super risky, but you can just send it and go as fast as you can through there. It's not easy at all. Here we're coming to that point. You go up across this bridge. Oh, big crash there from Noodle. And then you go down this and you try to send it, try to go through here as smooth as you can. And we see a couple crashes there from Koalia. But Freaky, Bronxy, and Windcloud playing super smooth. They are neck and neck at the front. And remember, Freaky and Windcloud, they were the winners in our semifinals. So certainly favorites coming into this. Bronxy winning in map 1. The top 3 really trying to separate themselves from the pack, and who's going to make it happen? Freaky looking great. It's hard to make passes at the very end here, I will say, and Freaky looks like he should be able to hold on, and he does. Windcloud in second, Bronxy in third. I was watching Koalia that race. I've been very impressed because, you know, the item performance yesterday and actually staying with all these big dogs here in this race. Unfortunately, had a crash or two there that knocked him to the back of the pack, and Freaky, Bronxy, and Windcloud taking advantage as our top 3.
Yeah, I mean, Noodlebrain coming in last here. We talked about the potential for shakeups in the standings. I feel like that's certainly going to be the most notable story here. But we're seeing movement pretty much for the whole field. I mean, we see players going from near last to near first. Freaky from P6 up to P1. Noodlebrain from P1 to P8. Literally the most movement you can possibly ask for. And then simultaneously Magic getting a little bit further up in the standings. So some motion around the field, that's for sure. Currently a difference of 10 points between Yis down at 4 against Windcloud and Bronxy, currently tied for first at 14. So things starting to take shape just a little bit here. You know, nothing too shocking, I would say. I think the only thing that really stands out to me again is Noodlebrain. You know, go from grabbing 10 points in race 1 down to the 1 point. But it was that big moment into the bridge. I mean, just absolutely T-boning the wall, which the wall is going to win that exchange 10 times out of 10, I'm afraid.
Kart Rider Drift, avoid the wall. Here we go into game 3. We have parity all over the place here. Anyone can really make a run. It's so close at the top. 14, 14, 13, 11, 9, our top 5. And it's like there's no separation of more than 2 points between all of our players. You know, consecutively. So really cool to see. Anyone can make moves. Here we go into Snowbound. As I mentioned earlier, this is a pretty classic track. Everyone's going to be pretty familiar with it. And it's a longer one too. There's a fair amount of room. This is a kind of tricky area over here, going through this little cavernous area. A couple players dropping back a little bit. Got to watch that pillar that's just inconveniently right in the middle of the pathway. And there's that infamous log that Douse kind of ran into and unfortunately kind of led to the end of his tournament performance. But Freaky getting to the front here. Bronxy in second. Also looking out for Windcloud. Those are the top 3 from the last race. And also Freaky and Windcloud doing so well in the semifinals. We're going to have all our eyes on them. And Koalia doing a great job sticking in there. Now in second place. And, you know, again, this is as competitive as it gets here in Western Kart Rider. We see our top 3 players literally all neck and neck jumping into that ski lift at the exact same time.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about WindCloud being one of the ones to watch right now. I mean, you can't count out Bronxy either. He's been pretty consistently, near the top. I mentioned his consistency in the last round. Lots of third place finishes, managing to push up into P2 at the end of the last round,
Wow.
which was really just a victory lap at that point. But, Bronxy in P2 right now, plays P2 in the first race, P3 in the second race. It's about the consistent performances. It's the same kind of thing that we saw from WindCloud. And yes, even moving up here into the top 3 momentarily here at the beginning of lap 2. There's a lot of action to go around, but I mean, Koalia is just out to a Herculean lead right about now.
Yeah, and I might have missed something because, like, again, as I said, they all entered the ski lift at the same time, but now Koalia is just way out in front. So I think WindCloud and Broxy had a bit of an altercation, a bit of a crash against the wall, and Koalia taking advantage, staying out of trouble. Now at this point, it's time trial mode. You've played this over and over again. Just stick your lines, don't hit any trees, don't hit any logs, play it nice and safe. Koalia can hold on and succeed here. They can make that happen. Broxy in second, Sarah in third, Freaky in fourth. Look out for WindCloud. WindCloud's in sixth place right now. I would not be surprised to see him make a move here at the end of this race as Koalia tries to run away with it.
Doodlebrain again, surprisingly way at the back of the pack. I'd love to see another point of view and see what exactly happens. And you see WindCloud again, lots of motion here in the 3 through the 6. And Koalia will cross the line first, quite handily, over a second ahead of P2. A phenomenal performance from then. And Broxy, again, it's consistency, placing P3. It's not the greatest performance, but it's certainly going to be enough to get you near that top spot. Sarah also with a major performance here up into second place for that last race. It's going to be a big shakeup for the standings here based on what I'm seeing. I think Bronxy might even pop out in the first.
Love it. Love the parity that we're seeing. Bronxy with the consistency so far. That was a huge win for Koalia, especially since they were in the top three in the previous race and had a couple bad instances and dropped down to fifth or sixth. That's a huge win there for Koalia. And now our point standings. Bronxy in first right now with 20 points. Koalia in second with 19. Listen to this, 20, 19, 18, 17. Am I counting down? Yes, but that's literally our standings in our top four. Only a point separating first and second, second, third, and fourth. So it's pretty much as close as it gets. Magic and Yes. We're going to look out for them to make some moves. We're playing to 100, and Bronxy's at 20, so still plenty of races to come. Look out for Yes, Magic, and Noodle. They know what's in front of them. This is the time where they've got to make some moves to try to get into that top three.
That much is true. We talk about the mental game being an important factor in this kind of, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? We're playing first to
Yeah.
100. If you were playing first to 50, you only have half the time to make things happen. A poor couple of first races is going to be a major issue for you, but Noodlebrain knows that they have the pace. We saw that on the first race. So despite the fact that they've had some very poor finishes here just recently, there's still a very real chance for them to run back into this one, especially when you mentioned there's only a gap of 7 points right now, very early on in this round.
Yeah, and this is the classic Zoomtown. We're going to keep calling it. All of these players have hundreds of races of experience on this track, no doubt about it. Over 15 years of experience for some of these guys racing this track. So they know this like the back of their hand. They know this better than the back of their hand. Not going to see a lot of chaotic situations here. It's a relatively straightforward map. It officially comes in as a 2-star track, which is, difficulty goes up to 5. So this is a relatively simple track. I expect all these racers to finish within a second of each other. No doubt at all that that's going to happen. So that comes down to who can make those sneaky little moves when it absolutely matters. Most of those moves, I would say, happen on the highway, the straightaway, where you have to do a lot of cut drifts, not a lot of turns going on, and then at the very end. So looking out for who can do the best on the highway coming up soon, and then who can make the moves at the very end to sneak ahead of the pack. Bronxy notably in the back. That's a pretty big deal because he's in first in our standings right now. And remember, Yis is at the bottom of our standings. I'm looking at Yis right now. He's in second place. So here we go to that highway area. WindCloud in first. Look out for the drafting. You got to make those drafting happen to keep up. Got to avoid those walls in this situation on this track. And look at that. One bump against the wall, and Yis drops from second to eighth. Look at how close all these guys are, Squid. I can't stop talking right now because this is just so intense coming to the end. This is the final turn. We got a sweeping turn here. You got to stay close to the wall, and then we have a very tight U-turn here. Try to make that as close as possible. Big jumble up there. WindCloud's in the front, Freaky in second, Koa trying to catch up, and a big sweeping turn at the bottom of the hill there. Try not to crash at the end, and that's as close as it gets. WindCloud WinCloud and Freaky really doing a great job there. They were the winners of their respective semifinals, and they're able to get top two on this track, one of the most familiar tracks in the pool. So that's going to bode really well for their chances. Meanwhile, Bronxy in eighth. If you make a mistake on that track, that can happen because everyone finishes so closely packed to each other. You got to really avoid those big crashes on that track because there's not a lot of ability to come back. And unfortunately, I think that's what Bronxy ran into.
Yeah, notable improvement as well from Magic, placing in P3 there. That's going to be quite a significant improvement. Koalia also, had a little bit of a rough time. I mean, at the start of lap 2, we saw Noodle Brain was out there in front. Koalia onto the main straight, made a lot of overtakes leading up onto the bridge. But, I mean, they were so closely packed. You mentioned you got to avoid the walls. You got to avoid the other races. You still got to weave because you got to keep
Right.
up your pace. Because if you don't, then someone's just going to bump you off to the side or you're going to, they're going to overtake you with a draft and then you're going to be behind. You won't have the momentum going into the final section. So there's a lot that has to be going through your mind right there, and making these split second decisions is almost quite impossible. So I'm not very surprised to see a massive shakeup in the standings there, going down into the sweeping right-hander before the hairpin and the chicane at the end of the lap. But looking at our standings now, Windcloud up at 27 against Freaky, 26, 24 for Coalia, Bronxy at 21, and we go down from there. 16 for both Noodle Brain and Sarah Slays. Two contenders, I would consider to be, well, I wouldn't necessarily consider them to be dark horses, but looking at the standings, that's all I can really classify them as because they clearly have not had the performance that I would be expecting out of them. We got Noodle Brain out here, and an early lead does get overtaken by Bronxy, but right now, it's all about keeping consistency, keeping your wits about you, because Terracotta Twister could be quite an experience if you're not careful.
Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite tracks. I think it's up there with like a good track to practice, kind of like Boom Hill Tunnel, where there's a lot of like variance in the turns that are going on, a lot of satisfying lines that you can take. This is a very technical moment here. Magic getting knocked off the map. Yes, there are places you can fall, and that's right here through this area. Got to be very careful. There's room to make moves in that area, but you got to be so careful not to fall off the map. As I mentioned earlier, if something like that happens, you're kind of seventh or eighth no matter what because of how competitive this lobby is. You gotta hold that line. Safety and efficiency really gotta favor the safety side of it in those situations. Noodle in front, Ko in second, Windcloud in third. I'm watching Yis right now because Yis is in the back of our standings, so I expect him to look to make a move here. He's trying to catch up to the pack, but the racers in front not really budging at all. Our top five are literally within a millisecond of each other right now.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. I'm on board with Noodle Brain right now, and does get overtaken by Windcloud and Koi. I mean, he was just taking some very clean
Look how
lines.
close
He was
these
playing
guys are.
the consistent race. And right now, Noodle just needs to get a podium finish. I think that's what you got to focus on.
Careful here.
P1 would be great, but it's getting very busy.
Oh,
And Noodle goes
Noodle!
off the track. The
my
big
God.
mistake. I was hoping not. We've seen him. He's so good. Noodle is so talented when he has the free space, but as soon as a little bit of stress is applied, he breaks under the pressure, falls off, and look at a P6 finish. Bronxy leading the pack. Koa's up there as well. Sarah and Freaky are in a battle here for third place, and it looks like it's gonna be Sarah over the line. This is huge. Some of our pack leaders moving nearer the back at the end of this race.
I love it. That's parity. All these players are very evenly skilled. All it takes is a little bump here, a little bump there, falling off the map there, and anyone can kind of enter the picture. I want to kind of note Freaky there, doing a great job at the end, kind of making moves, but then unfortunately had a few crashes literally at the last second. So Sarah was able to pass Freaky there at the end, and Windcloud in fifth. So Koalia showing up big, playing nice and safe, and emerging in first place. That's a huge victory there. Bronxy in second. That's going to be a big result too. I think that might put Bronxy at the top of our standings at this moment. But really exciting race there in Terracotta Twister.
Bronxy, not quite there at the top, but certainly making his way back onto that podium right now. 34 to Koalia, who, I mean, with a couple of quality performances, started out fourth and fifth in races 1 and 2, but then that first place finish, followed by the first place finish here in the last race. I mean, that is some monumental points, not, of course, excluding the fact that the likes of Windcloud, they had some poor performances on the wins that Koalia did take, and then simultaneously Bronxy had that 8th place on the map prior to the one we just saw. There's been a couple of critical shakeups, and that allowed them to extend out into the lead. So Koalia leading at 34, 31 for both Freaky and Windcloud. Bronxy close behind at 29. And if we're talking about the finals here, you know, there is no elimination. It's just your final placement at this point. Still loads of races to go. They're playing to 100, so we're really only a third of the way there. But we'll see.
Love it. Doing a quick shot of the standings on the stream so people can see what's going on. And here we go, Gold Rush. Very competitive track here. Not a lot of craziness. So once again, another track where you expect these guys to finish very close to each other. Little moments here and there where you can make those moves happen. Not really too many places you can fall off the map, so I expect to see a pretty close race here. Bronxy in the front, Coley in second, Yis in third, and really looking out for Yis to make some moves, kind of lower in our standings. But there's not a lot of places here to really make some big moves. You really just have to have tight lines. I would say the best opportunity is these sweeping turns, where the closer you are to the wall, the absolute better. So look out for these players in the back to take some really tight lines to try to make up some ground. And again, all these guys are going to be very close on this relatively simple track. One lap down, one to go.
Like I said, you know, I'm on board with Noodle Brain again, but even when they had the clean air there back in 5th or 6th place, you know, they had some really clean lines going for them. It's really once they get into those battles that things start to become a little bit more complicated for them. But still, even then, when we saw them in first in the last race, it was Bronxy was coming in to make those overtakes happen. And speaking of, Bronxy must have had a huge moment, moving all the way down into P8 now, last place from where he was in the podium
Tight
positions,
turn.
and Yis is out into the front here.
Oh, Wind Cloud trying to make a move, but he slammed it in the wall. It's kind of what I was mentioning. That's a point where you're trying to get as close to that wall as possible. It's like one of the only places you can pass people. Wind Cloud getting too close to the wall and hitting it. And Freaky, he's got some work to do too. Wind Cloud, Freaky, and Bronxy, three of our favorites. They're in the bottom three right now.
Ooh, here goes Noodle Brain.
Wow, what a
Yis
move.
took a wide line into there. Things are starting to shape up as well. You know, Magic and this, or excuse me, Yis, some of our bottom competitors right here in this final so far. Oh, that's huge! Yis actually gets Noodle Brain in front of them, and the overtake happens right at the end. And Magic actually gets out in front of Yis as well. Actually, they tie for second! You gotta be kidding me! A
Uh-oh.
tie for second place. 1 minute 51.575 exact.
How did the points work for that? I guess, let's see, 10-8. I guess they both get 7?
I
Anyone?
Wow, we don't even. I
We have,
never even knew that was a
is
thing
that
that could
defined?
happen.
I think that's how it goes. I think that's how it goes. If it's 10-8-6 and second and third tie, that's 14 points total. So I think you just split that in half and you distribute accordingly, 7 and 7. But yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna have to have the players hold for just a second. I don't know if we.
if we
Yeah,
define
I don't.
any
Well, so I'm gonna say this because the game listed both the players as a P2 finish. I think we just assign 8 points for both of the second placing players.
right,
That would be per the rules because we don't have we
gotcha,
don't have anything for ties.
right,
So
fair enough.
that's going to be 2 points to Magic and Yes. So I guess best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Congratulations, guys. Wow. So I'm going to have to update the standings here for just a second. But still, another notable happenstance there. You mentioned Freaky and Wind Cloud both falling towards the back of the pack. Bronxy also taking a huge dive there down into P8. I mean, it's been podium finishes, but when Bronxy can't finish on the podium, it is absolute dead last. So a bit of a weird dichotomy going on there.
And I have a look at our standings on the stream with some live updates going on. Huge shout out to Ilya and of course you, Squid, all the people working behind the scenes to make this happen. I'm kind of loving how our leaderboard is looking. It's like it's staying as tight as humanly possible. Shout out to Yis. I was kind of talking about him having to make some moves. Being able to get second there, that's pretty important confident booster. Look out for him to try to make some more moves going forward. Yis and Magic at the bottom, Sarah and Noodle rounding out the bottom four there. But you can see the score difference of our top, like everyone is pretty close to each other. 37, 36, 33, 30, 29 right behind that. So kind of everyone is still in this. Remember, we're playing to 100, 100 score. So we might only be, technically we're only a third of the way through our finals here. Lots of races, which is what we love to see. And kind of how I mentioned earlier, these players are going to have their favorite tracks. They're going to have their least favorite tracks. So lots of room for moves to be made.
Yeah. Well, that was an interesting happenstance. I guess we're here now. So, yeah, we talked about the potential for movement. We talked about the potential for this to be a close final, and I think we're getting just about every possible delivery of that. We've had players who placed in first and also in last. We've had players who are incredibly consistent near the middle of the pack who have deviated from that since then. In particular, Magic and Yus. I'm impressed with their performance, their ability to come back from what seemed like some pretty devastating odds against them, and still put up a reasonable performance there in that last race. We'll see if they can carry that momentum here.
All right, this is one of the doozy tracks, I might call it, in our pool. Probably one of those difficult tracks in our pool as well. Facility 5, it's a one-lapper, but don't let that fool you. It's a long lap, so there is ability to come back, little shortcuts. This U-turn is critical. You got to stay up there, stay on the high ground. No! Freaky missed the jump. Freaky went from 2nd to 7th just because he failed that shortcut. You got to watch out for that. Freaky in the back, but again, there's a little room to come back here. Even if it's a one-lapper, again, it's a long lap. So let's see if Freaky can make some moves coming back. Noodle right now in the front, cruising away, battling with Koalia just behind him. And yeah, here we go. Yis at the back, Freaky second to last, and Windcloud also is going to want to make some moves pretty soon here.
It's just Noodle. Just watch it. It's a masterclass. This is what I was talking about. When Noodle gets some space to work with and doesn't have to worry about battling the other racers, it's a masterclass of racing. Look how tightly you're taking these lines. Maybe a little bit wide there on that first corner. That actually allows Koa to start to close the gap. And now, this is the question mark. Are things going to get a little bit questionably for Noodle? No. And there it is! The mistake made into the wall. They maintain their podium spot, even make the overtake here against Sarah. But it's going to be a continued battle. They've got to keep their wits about them.
Yeah, it's such a clunky area right there. You're kind of going from different elevations, and oh, Sarah with the pass on a Noodle. Tricky jump turn at the end, and Noodle crashes again. Freaky trying to catch up, and Noodle is going to hold on to third, just barely. Freaky going to be right behind him in fourth. Koalia in second in our top two. Wow, that was a fun one. Got to be so careful on that track. That track throws things at you left and right with some sneaky, tricky shortcuts. And then there's some really technical turns at the end of that track where there's all those kind of, as I mentioned, like elevation changes, kind of jump turns going on where we saw that big crash from Noodle, right? But if you're confident in those lines, that's a great place to make some moves and make some passes happen. So yeah, really nice race there. And the battle continues, the parity continues, pretty much having a different winner every single race. And kind of love it. Koalia, in particular, who is this person? How are they so good? Winning item yesterday and then, kind of casually just getting 3 first places in this, like, stacked lobby. Koalia doing enough to be in first right now. 47 points. Freaky in second with 41. Windcloud in third with 36. Noodle with 35. Sarah with 34. It's all so close. Everyone's kind of still in this.
Though, actually, it's about the consistency for Noodle.
Yeah.
And Noodle has great consistency. But as soon as someone starts getting up there, and maybe you can almost like physically see when Noodle starts like, doing the shoulder check of like, oh God, they're getting up there. Once Koa, managed to find that little bit of a cut, I mean, Noodle made that very one slight mistake, and it did not kill his pace by any means. Of course, lost a little bit of momentum out of that corner, but as soon as it killed the pace, Noodle just kind of fell apart and allowed Koa to get up there. And Noodle Brain, that would have been a critical position 1 finish right there, especially to keep Koa at bay, to try and keep them from running away from the remainder of the group here. They're out in front by 6 points in comparison to P2 right now. And here goes Noodle again, out in the front. Can they keep it defended this time, though? That's the real question. You got to keep that gold medal.
Oh. Yeah, a technical moment here. Oh, someone fell into the lava. Got to be so careful. And 3 shortcuts. I mean, the track represents its name. That's those shortcuts are all in that lava area mostly. So, got to be really careful through there. Kind of like I said, the line between being safe and sending it. That's an area where you really want to be safe. Lots of ability to come back here, though, on this track. It's 3 laps, pretty long race, lots of technical turns, and as I said, those 3 shortcuts. Some players are a little bit better than others at navigating those. I'm watching Freaky right now. Let's see what route he takes. Okay, he took the sneaky line. That was, I don't know if you saw that, but he got away with that, man. He went up against the wall there, and 50% of the time, if you take that line, you hit the wall like that, you're in the lava. So Freaky getting away with it, staying in the front. He's in first by a pretty good amount here. And this is time trial mode for Freaky, and he's certainly capable. Someone in the chat mentioning he's an ex-pro of Kart Rider Rush Plus, which is the mobile version of this game that's been out for a few years now. So Freaky, lots of experience in this game, might just run away with it, and we'll see who can make the play for that podium. WinCloud in second right now, Noodle in third, doing pretty well.
Oh, there goes Freaky off the edge!
No
Why?
way! Right when I switched. Oh my gosh.
No way! I'm just watching Freaky take these corners so cleanly, and everything you could possibly ask for out of a racer. You talk about, oh yeah, X-Pro had so much space for it, but didn't even have to try to take the risky line. And he just took it, and now down into P4. Noodle Brain into third as well. Oh my god.
I'm sorry. So that happened right when I was switching my scene. Where did he fall exactly? Was it that
the first
little shortcut?
I knew he got away with it.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
the
yeah,
gods.
Yeah,
they let him off the first time. Oh, dude, Bronx with a DNF? Hang on, am I seeing that correctly? Bronxy DNFs in this race?
That track can really go after your soul with the things that can happen. I know exactly how that feels. You know, I was in Grand Prix. I'm pretty sure I was on that track in Grand Prix, and if I win, I get gold. You know, gold is really good in Kart Rider right now. It might not sound good, and I was in front, and I'm like, oh, this is great, but something like that happened to me where I was in front, and like it can get so tricky at the end there, and the 3 shortcuts map, where you almost want to just play your game. If you start playing a little safer there, or like something you're not used to, it's just a game of millimeters where you can just fall, and that's happened to me before, so I know exactly how that feels. A lot of pressure on that track as it gets to the end, all those technical little spots. So the parity continues, and onward we go, going for 100 points here. Koalia in first, 55. You know, Koalia is almost running away with this. Kind of like you said, the consistency is what we're looking out for. Bronxy drifting, no pun intended, down to 6th place when he was kind of in the top 3 most of the finals so far. Freaky in second, WinCloud tied for second right now with 46 points. So still very close at the top, and Koalia trying to run away with it. We'll see who's going to make the moves going into this next track. We're about halfway through our finals here. Again, first to 100.
Yeah, I will say an interesting thing. We talk about consistency being key. Unfortunately, Freaky, I think, has got the wrong idea. You know, P6 in the first race, you know, took gold on the second, and in the fourth race, a P2. But other than that, out of all the other 7 races that we've run, I believe it's been 7 races, so no, 8 races, Freaky has placed 4th 5 times. So I guess you can't really, like, complain about that. You know, middle of the field is still tied for a second, but I think for Freaky, they might be just a little bit, I guess, disappointed with how things have turned out, you know, being so close to placing on the podium so many times, and just not being able to make it happen.
I think in most of those cases, he's been in the top 3, but then, you know, this happened or that happened, and kind of ending up in 4th place. It's not bad, but it's not necessarily ideal. So I'm gonna jump on to Koalia's cam right now, and we're gonna watch their perspective because they're in front.
We would if
yeah, if this loads up. Come on, Sarah, you can do it. You can do it, Sarah. But looks like we might have to do a good old reset. That's all right. And,
good old-fashioned reset.
You know, this is an appropriate time for that because we're about halfway through.
Pause.
Yeah, we're about halfway through our final, so it's a great time. And I also want to mention we have donations continue to come in, which is awesome to see. Love to see the Kart Rider community showing up here and supporting the cause that we have going on here. Once again, Gamers Outreach and Gamers for Giving, raising money to build video game kiosks for children's hospitals so the kids can be entertained while they're going through tough times. The kids love it. These carts are deployed in, I think, most children's hospitals in the United States at this point. They're everywhere, and we're just adding to that amount. Stress KR with the $1 donation. Any amount is awesome, guys. Thanks a lot. You can see the donation links underneath the stream. It's attached to Twitch, so it should be pretty easy to make that happen. Really appreciate seeing those donations come in for a good cause. We're about halfway through our finals as we get this next track loaded up. And I'm loving what I'm seeing. Lots of parity, lots of people making moves. I feel like Kart Rider Esports has a bright future, and it's fun to see some of the leaders in the Western scene put on a show here today.
Absolutely. We got more plans for it as well. We got more plans coming up. TM.
Are you able to divulge these plans?
No, because we
No.
look. Here's the deal. We got another solo speed tournament, right? We got another solo speed tournament coming up here for April the 1st.
Yes.
If anybody's interested, Rival Circuit Discord. We got signups open there right now. I think we're in the ballpark of like 40 signups for that event already, which
Nice.
I gotta
I'm
make
okay.
sure that I've got
Yeah,
a
thank you.
more robust thing for that. But I wish I had the sign up sheet with me right now. But it is somewhere ballpark 40 signups, and then we are planning to do more after that. We ran a variety event. We ran duos, item, and speed hybrid as our inaugural tournament. It actually went pretty well. We had a lot of interest from a lot of places around the scene, but we aim to provide variety and a high level of competition for and an outlet for the Western scene. Obviously, there's
Yeah.
so many talented players that you are seeing right now. Go figure. And yeah, we want to give them the spotlight. So
And this game is so new; it hasn't really had any sports scenes. So we're kind of
exactly.
seeing the genesis of kart rider esports. And I want everyone to just kind of pause and think about that, because that is such a cool thing, especially for those of us who have been waiting 10, 15 years, dreaming about what this esports scene can look like. So shout out to everyone involved in making these tournaments happen. Shout out to all the competitors grinding through the years, going to therapy, waiting for this game to come out.
Wait.
I know I'm one of them.
Sorry, what was that second thing there? I didn't quite.
Yeah,
I'm
man,
not sure if I heard
therapy,
you correctly.
100%. No one should be ashamed. If mental health is important. Kart Rider not coming out for 15 years after they promised it would come out. I am not the only one who's gone to therapy. Trust
All
me.
right. Therapy for that particularly. And maybe that particular thing is a little bit odd, but everybody has their own.
Look at how
balance,
close these
I'm
guys
not
are,
trying
by
to-
the way. We're getting to the hairpins here at Extreme Stadium in the first lap. I'm watching Koalia
Oh.
right now, going from 8th to 4th in just a matter of seconds. All these guys so close to each other. Tricky shortcut here at the end. Risk reward situation there. You can take a tighter turn, but then you might fall off the track. So got to be a little safe. Windcloud in front, Noodle in second. We know Noodle has some moves to make, and Koalia keeping themselves in contention here. We see Yis at the back. Unfortunately, had a bit of a crash there, and Freaky also at the back. But look at how close all these guys are. Extreme Stadium is one of those tracks. It's not too complicated. The most technical moments here on this track are definitely at the very end. Those hairpins, and then there's a couple shortcuts where you're going over dead space where you do not want to fall. So you want to kind of be safe. Don't be too close to anyone else. But that's going to be hard here because everyone is so close in skill. Everyone's going to be close to each other. So really got to cross your fingers, hope for the best, and do what you can. We're getting to the final stages here of lap number 2. This race is going to end in the next 10 seconds. Windcloud in front, Noodle in second, Bronxy in third. I'm watching Koalia try to sneak into third, passing Magic. Here's that shortcut. Able to get through a Magic, taking a brilliant line, sneaking ahead of Koalia. Koalia in fourth, going to try to get back ahead of Magic, trying to get that boost up and running. There it is. Koa is going to end up in 4th place. Not bad at all. Freaky in 5th. Windcloud taking it, but you can see just how close everyone is. And Bronxy, more struggles. Bronxy, you can do it. Unfortunately, had a crash, I believe, early in lap 2, and just rounding out the back of the field.
Yeah, we saw some promising moments from a couple of the different racers here in the field. Magic obviously taking a P3 finish here. It's their 3rd podium for the series, so gotta be happy with that. But Koalia, I think particularly, moving down into 4th place for this last race, their pace has been improving. Their racecraft, their pace has been improving here. It's pretty obvious that they are starting to come alive under the pressure. But Noodlebrain has also been improving here. Had that 1st place finish in the very first race of the series, looked to be out to an amazing start and then absolutely tanked. It was all downhill from there up until finally the recuperation in race 6. They placed first, and then third, second. They're getting their consistency back. So now I have to finish updating the scoreboard because I was just going on a bit of a tangent there. We saw Yes, obviously placing P6. A little bit more, I suppose, back to form, if you would, for them. But more shakeups in the standings. Koalia, not quite able to defend this lead as easily as they would have wanted to, especially with Windcloud taking that P1 finish.
Yeah, I love it. The parity continues. Everyone's trying to catch Koalia right now, and the standings have tightened up considerably. Koalia still in first with 60 points. Windcloud with that win, getting up to 56 points, only 4 off the lead, and Freaky and Noodlebrain certainly in contention with 50 and 49 points respectively. Sarah Slays in 5th with 40. And, there's still room. There's still room here for these players at the bottom to make some moves. Again, we're playing to a 100 score, so still many more races to go.
Here we go. on to Boostwood. I'm curious how this one's going to pan out. I always am. But I'm especially looking forward to some of the more technical tracks. I believe New York is one of my personal favorites to watch, just because of how close together, you know, some of those shortcuts, some of those walls are. You have to be pretty much dead perfect, and we did see that actually out of our duos and item, the duo speed and item tournament that we had before. Team Japan were particularly amazing through that map. So I'm looking for, I'm hopeful that we'll see some of the same kind of action right here. Some very clean lines. I'm on board with Koa again here. What in the world is that?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that from Koalia. Just that happens sometimes. You just hit the turn just wrong, or you hit a weird angle, and all of a sudden you're tumbling around a little bit. Definitely want to avoid that situation. Look at Magic out in front. That's pretty cool to see. We haven't seen much of Magic, you know, on our podium. So to see him contending for first place right now, that's pretty awesome. One lap down, one to go. As you said, not too crazy of a track here. I suppose. Trying to think of like kind of the best places to make moves. It's like pretty much anywhere, I would say, because it's pretty wide. Yeah, I mean it's kind of a wide open track. It's not like there's any parts of this track that'll kind of limit what you're doing. You just gotta make those lines as close to the wall as possible to try to sneak ahead. Obviously, streamlining, staying behind the person in front of you, and looking for a place to make a move. I like this area right here. You kind of stay on the high ground a little bit longer. And actually, this area, you see a lot of players slow down sometimes because you're going uphill. Going uphill, you're trying to manage your boost at the very end. Koalia doing a great job here. Plenty of boost in the tank. In second behind Magic, making these sneaky moves, going into first place. Can anyone catch him? And just really well played right now. Getting to the front, and I don't know if they're going to be passed. Getting to the finish line. Koalia in first place. Noodle second. Windcloud third. Magic fourth. Freaky at the back. As I said, you know, anything can happen in Kart Rider when everyone is so close in skill. Only 2 seconds separating the entire field.
Oh yeah, that's a huge L for Freaky. I mean, 8th place finish is really going to impact their standing here. They were very nicely competing just before the result of this race. I think they were actually P3, P2, P3, I believe. But after that, not so much exactly. So again, big shakeups is really what we've come to expect out of this final in so far. I think the only thing that's kind of disappointing me is the fact that Bronxy has been having some really lousy results in comparison to what we saw at the start of the series. You know, we've seen an 8th place finish, a couple of 8th place finishes actually here in recent races, along with a DNF, 2 5th places. I mean, Bronxy's really having a difficult time getting into and staying in the top 4 for these standings. Meanwhile, I mean, it has been easily populated by the likes of Noodle Brain, Koalia, and Windcloud. It's been them in the top 3 for a majority of these last 4 races, actually.
Yeah, and, you know, looking at our standings, Koa with 70, trying to run away with it. Windcloud not too far behind with 62, Noodle in third with 57. Freaky is always going to be in contention. We know that with 51, so look out for him to make a move. And again, still plenty of races to go here. I'm going to go on board, I think, with Noodle, because we're looking at the podium pretty closely right now. Lots of pressure on these players at the top. I'm going to jump on board with Noodle here, considering he's in third place. Looks like we're going to go on a Rio de Janeiro, the map with Rocket League, some might say. One lapper here, short and sweet. The start is so important. You do a fun little flying routine going through the air, and then you have a couple escalators that are incredibly narrow. So getting off to a good start here is paramount.
We talk about getting on board with Noodle Brain. I mean, lots of consistency there. I think one of the things that I would like to talk about, you know, just going back to what we saw out of Koalia, and a more interesting line. You see a lot of Kart Rider players really drift into the corners, but I did notice Koa tended to try and keep the momentum and actually not even oversteer into the course. Speaking of, though, they absolutely nailed the wall right there. Koalia down into P8. If that holds, that could be a huge, that could have huge implications for the standings. Freaky out in the front here, as well as Sarah and Noodlebrain. This is a pretty interesting mix-up for the start of this race.
Yeah, as I said, you know, this is one of those tracks you cannot afford to make a big mistake, because it's hard to come back. It's one lap. It's going to take 80 seconds for these guys to get down this map, and look at how close everyone is. It's tough. So the main part here is the shortcut at the end, where you can make moves, where you can try to get past everyone else, and also the clunkiest part where there's some weird drifts that sometimes doesn't work if you land improperly. But here we go. Here's the shortcut at the end. Freaky looking really good in front, holding on for now. Yis doing a great job. Remember, he's been at the back, but finding himself in the top 3, and we were mentioning Bronxy having a huge race here. surging into second, and he should be able to hold on. He does. And again, everyone going to finish within literally a second of each other. Koalia with that crash in the beginning, finding themselves in 8th place. Not only that, our top 3 players in our standings,
Yes.
bottom 3 in that race.
Yeah, that's certainly going to cause a little bit of a shakeup there. So we'll have to see how things pan out. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw the results in there. Freaky, that's a... you mentioned Freaky and Bronxy? You know, huge races for them. Yes, coming in P3. There's only good things happening for some of our players who are, you know, historically nearer the bottom of the leaderboard. So as we look at how things are going to pan out now, with Freaky taking that P1, they're right back in the battle for potentially placing first in the whole tournament. Koalia right now leading 71 points against WinCloud 64, 61 for Freaky, 60 for Noodle Brain. Sarah Slays comes up very close. Well, I wouldn't say very close behind, but very close in competition with Bronxy. 48 for Sarah, 47 for Bronxy, 44 for Magic. It's a close battle there for, I guess, the top of the bottom half of the standings.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. It's almost like top 4 kind of separating themselves from the bottom 4 here. But that being said, we literally just saw our top 3 get bottom 3, you know? So it's like anything can still literally happen. Buckle up, guys. This is going to be super intense. Exactly how we love it. This is going to be really intense all the way to the very end. Koalia. I think I'm going to jump onto Koalia's perspective here because that can be kind of a shaky moment where it's like you're doing well, you're kind of cruising, and then all of a sudden you get 8th. So I'm going to see, oh, you know, we're really, I want to watch Koa here and see kind of how that resolve can be had. Ooh, Desert Pharaoh's Pass. This is one of my favorite tracks. It's the classic, one of the big 3, the original 3 when you talk about Pyramid Mesa, Woodland, and Zoomtown, right? This is one of the original 3 that all of these players have over a decade of experience with, you know? So nice track here. Lots of little things that can happen. There's a big jump where a lot of time can be had, but each lap is kind of short and sweet. So you could see someone just run away with it, but this should be a very competitive track. Got to play it safe. The most important part is going to be that jump. These guys, they make their way through the pyramid, and then there's a jump at the end, and we're going to see who can make up that time.
So we shall. If we get a bad result here for, you know, the second race in a row for any one of our top 3 players, that could, or top 4 players at that, that could really open up the window for the likes of Sarah Slays or Bronxy to get back into this one. I mentioned how they weren't really dark horses coming into this one, coming into the finals, that is to say, but now, who really knows? I mean, it's all up in the air. We call that last corner. That's where we saw a bit of shenanigans in our item ace just yesterday, on Saturday.
I'm watching Noodle here. He just had a pretty bad crash, but able to hold on into the top 3. We're getting through the second lap, going up the pyramid here. WinCloud in front, Freaky in second. That's kind of more what we were used to based on the semi-final results. So WinCloud and Freaky trying to make the moves. Koa keeping herself in contention, or keeping themselves in contention. Here's that big jump turn at the end. Looks like everyone managing that without too much trouble. Watch out for those little bumps. Freaky against the wall there. Every little bump is important. When only a second separates all these players, you know, you really got to avoid those walls at all costs. WinCloud trying to hold his spot at the front. Everyone else trying to catch up. See Noodle Brain here in the top 3 trying to stay up there. Freaky also there. Magic surging into the top 5. It could not be any closer at the end here. Big U-turn. Oh no, Noodle taking a really wide turn on that U-turn. He's going to drop into 4th. Trying to make up room, but not quite the best angle at the end. WinCloud trying to stay in front. Freaky trying to contend for first, but WinCloud holds on. Freaky second. Magic third. And the parity continues. WinCloud and Freaky, they needed that. Koa, though, hanging on to top 4. Koalia, that's important for them. But shout out to Magic there. Kind of been at the bottom of our standings, but having a great race there, getting into the podium.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we expect from Magic, you know, is just occasionally really shake up the standings, have a very high-quality race. Inconsistency seems to be the name of the game for Magic. But at the same time, you know, Koalia still up there 4th, Noodle Brain 5th. That's huge for WinCloud and Freaky both. That's going to put them within striking distance now. 76 for Koalia, only placing 5 points, 6 between the last 2 races now. But WinCloud being able to make up a lot of ground, 74 points now to their name. Freaky only 5 behind that. So it really is, you know, a big battle for first place here. And we still got a guaranteed 3 races to go
Yeah,
here.
love it.
So
Love it.
lots to go on here. And it looks like we're on to New York Rally, the one that I wanted to see here, Axel. Like I said, lots of potential for a really clean racer to stand out, but at the same time, there's loads of opportunity to make a one minor mistake that costs you so
Exactly.
much lap time.
Yeah, it's a one lapper here, so really got to keep things under control the entire way through. I love how our standings are looking. It could not be tighter at the top. Koalia 76, WinCloud 74, Freaky 69, Noodle 64. Our top four kind of separating themselves from the bottom four. Still looking for moves from Yiz, Bronxy, Magic, and Sarah. We saw Magic do pretty well there, so the moves can be made, but WinCloud was looking really good in that last race. So let's see what happens here on New York. And the beginning is a little tricky because you have to go uphill. It's kind of annoying. It's like you don't want to go uphill in the beginning of the race because it slows you down and you're trying to get nitrous, you're trying to drift. So it's a little bit, it's always going to be a little bit awkward in the beginning on this track, but definitely because it is a one lapper, you want to get to the front and stay there. Not a lot of places to fall off the track, but there's certainly walls everywhere that you can run into. So see what happens here. Koalia doing a great job getting near the front. Noodle also in contention the top three. We see Magic up there too. I'm watching Freaky here in 7th place right now. All these players very tight, very close to each other as we navigate through this one lapper. I'm not surprised at all. Just this little alley is a little tricky spot, very narrow. Got to be careful through here. Freaky, a little bump against the wall. It's going to cost him a little bit, but look out for this area up ahead here for these players to make some moves. We're over halfway through this lap, and it could not be tighter at the front.
Yeah, on board with Koa, really trying to get past Noodle Brain in one of the tightest spots on the map, but they did make the move happen. Now Noodle Brain getting back out in front, but this is really a map for the consistent players. Noodle Brain does have a slight moment into the wall. I'm watching the top three very close together. But as I was saying, you know, it's the chance for the consistent racers to stand out, the ones that can take those apex close as possible and really maximize their exit speed. So it's looking good. But Koa, I mean, for any one of these players, there's still a huge moment. Koa goes into the wall. WinCloud and Bronxy both get the move done at the end. Koa having some more moments, and Freaky gets by now. And things are really heating up here near the end of the New York rally into the final couple of turns here.
Yeah, last straightaway.
It might be the final standing. Bronxy does run into the wall. Freaky and Koa an absolute drag race. Bronxy gets passed with the draft, and Koa down 8-6. Magic with a first place finish. Noodle Brain, WinCloud, Freaky following that up. What a race.
What a move from Bronxy. Making that move at the very end on Koa, that's going to be pretty huge. Magic, shout out to him. It's been near the bottom of our standings, but stepping up huge in that one lapper. You know, those one lap tracks, great opportunity. If you're not doing so well, you just have one good race and just crush it. It's very realistic to get into that podium if you hadn't been there before. So Magic doing a great job. I think that's 2 races in a row where he's on that podium. So man, this is good stuff here. Love the competitiveness of these players. Love how close they all are in skill, and I love how they're all putting it out there. This is a fight. I mean, a lot of people call this a fighting game, and that's kind of what's happening here because all these guys are so close in skill. It literally comes down to millimeters on kind of the moves that we see happen.
And we're looking at a gap now between first and fourth place of 8 points. WinCloud has overtaken Koalia 80 points to 79 against the 74 of Freaky against the 72 of Noodle Brain. And then, of course, the bottom four still competitive. Magic with 60 against the 53 of Sarah Slays, who didn't have the performance they were looking for in that last race. Bronxy down at 52. Yes,
Ooh,
trailing in
but
the
look
back
at the
at
track.
38.
Look at the track.
But
Is it the Bronxy special?
we're back. We're back up to the top. Race 14, the first recurring map here.
Right.
Boom Hill
Yes, we
Tunnel.
are. I love that. Yeah, so looking at Bronxy in 7th, I mean, I would not Yis might be the only player that's kind of not their day here in the finals down at 38, but like Bronxy above, in theory, can all make moves. And what an opportunity here. Village Boom Hill Tunnel. I know this is one of Bronxy's best maps, so kind of looking out for a podium spot for Bronxy, which just makes this leaderboard tighter and tighter. So really excited to see how this unfolds. One of my favorite tracks in the game, no doubt about it. It's a one-lapper. It's complex. It gets tight at the very end of this. I think the way to win here, you got to treat it like a time trial. You got to get in front, avoid those crashes, avoid being too close to anyone, and just try to run away with it. We'll see who can manage that, but yeah, this is going to be a fun one here. Should be really intense. I expect a very close finish.
We'll see how things go. About who gets the best takeoff here. And you talk about time trials. You know, I'm still really on the Noodle Brain and Koa train. You know, the consistency for them has just been there in terms of their lines and their ability to keep calm when they have the space to not have the battle, right? Magic has actually been making a really big run back here, up to 60 points now, and with a bad finish from any one of the top 4 racers, they could easily be in contention for the top
Oh.
4, so I'm keeping an eye on them as well. They do get into a bit of a moment there with a couple other racers in the wall, and things looking a bit interesting here on the first lap with a lot of movement.
Yeah, it's really fun part of this track, going through the highway, a lot of wide turns. There's ways to kind of keep your speed up while taking these turns, so there are sneaky ways to make some moves. Noodle out in front, Magic in second. You mentioned Magic having some pretty good results in recent tracks. Koalia staying in contention. Freaky with a nice little nudge onto Koa, getting to this ramp. We're getting to the end here, and this is one of the most technical parts of the game. The faster you can go through the sequence up here, the better, but it's really hard to go fast, especially when you're at a tournament level. Let's see any crashes here. Got to be careful. Narrow ramps. Got to keep it under control. Very tricky. There's a crash. Looking out for that. Magic straight into the box. Freaky feeling that too, but look at this Koalia keeping it under control, staying in top 2, and there's the Bronxy special. Getting in that podium spot. Bronxy cannot give away that podium on Boomhill Tunnel. We all know that. So Bronxy sneaking into third. Koalia really doing the best there of our leaders, holding on to second place. That was a really fast one indeed. Super tight to the end, and Noodle coming out in first.
Yep, and gonna be even more movement. Honestly, the only thing that kind of sucks about this race for me, if you're a fan of just close games overall, the fact that Koa managed to take that P2 spot, that's concerning. I mean,
Oh
really
yeah,
leaping out there
yeah,
towards that front spot. I mean, Noodle Brain with the 10 points there, they head out to 82 points, which is only 2 points ahead of where Koa was prior to this race. But now with a P2 finish there from Koa, up to 87, a 5-point gap down to P2. Windcloud with a P5 finish. That's definitely not the result they were looking for. Freaky back into his placing fourth ways, it would seem. But for the remainder of the field, it doesn't look like it's too much of an unexpected result. Magic, though, that huge moment into the box, that hurt. That hurt a lot. I was just
yeah,
talking about earlier on in
yeah.
the race how they've been really running it back. They've been having a fantastic time with it, but it's
Yeah,
not meant to
Magic
be.
Magic definitely had to look at top 3 there, but that's the technical side of Boomhill Tunnel. You have those narrow ramps. If you're like next to someone at that moment, it's like forget it. You're both doomed. So you really got to keep your space and make sure you nail those shortcuts. And fortunately for Magic, straight into the wall, but still tied at the top. Koalia 87, Windcloud 84, Noodle 82. Koalia definitely in control of some destiny here, looking out for them to try to hold on to first, but that's not going to be easy against such a stacked lobby. Here we go into the next race. Still at least one more guaranteed, but we're getting to the end. We're getting to the end of these finals, so these players need to step up. Running out of time.
Running out of time more ways than one. You absolutely cannot afford to lose any sort of time here, especially as we talked about here. There is a lot of straightaway track, so trying to be as quick as you can through there is going to be critical. Freaky, I mean, we talk about the top 4. Freaky has been, I think, really the least consistent with having these top 3 placements. We've seen a lot of 4th places. But if they can find a way to extend and really push themselves out into those podium spots, there might be a very real potential for them to take top 3 in the tournament.
Yeah, kind of uncharacteristic crash a little earlier. Freaky was in front and like had a really weird crash that usually never happens. And he's still able to hold on to first. So Freaky really stepping up huge here. Noodle in second, Windcloud in third. I think everyone in this lobby knows how important it is to start pulling out the best races possible, because this is the finals and we are nearing the end. We have players approaching that 100-point threshold. Again, one of our classic tracks here, longer track, lots of room to make moves. Lots of time here. If you have a little crash in the beginning, not a huge deal. Plenty of time to kind of make that up. So right now, Noodle in the front, Freaky in second, Windcloud in third. Koalia staying in contention though. I think if Koalia just holds on top 4, top 5, I mean, kind of cruising, but we know some of these other players are kind of inching up. So really, we're looking at that battle between Koa and Windcloud. I mean, our top 3, Koa, Windcloud, and Noodle Brain, like that, and Freaky, like those 4 right now in super contention. So really looking out for them, and they're conveniently our top 4 players in this lobby right now.
Yeah, you just did have a brief overtake there against Windcloud, but fell back a little bit. There might be a little bit more of a battle happening there in the P4, P5 area, and Koa actually having a bit of a moment into the wall. They're going to be overtaken by Windcloud, and it's huge. Every position, when we're talking about Koalia at 87 points, we're talking about the difference in playing another race in this series, the potential for movement lower down in the order. And speaking of, Koalia down into 5th now. If this position now holds, we could see some very interesting shakeups. Perhaps Koalia who looked like a very strong contender early on in this series and still does feel like one of the stronger contenders
Oh.
for the win. I mean, it's really all up in the air right now. You get to the top 4 players currently in the top 4. Noodle Brain is managing to hold Freaky at bay here, but you can see the impatience is starting to come in. Tries to get that corner and gets overtaken now by Windcloud, who's currently P2 in the entire tournament. They're gonna be over the line in P2 for this race. Noodle Brain, though, gonna bring the fight back, and I believe now Noodle Brain and Windcloud will be tied at 92 points in comparison to Freaky's 85 in comparison to Koalia down at 92 actually as well. Hang on a second. I got to make sure I got my numbers right on this one because this will be massive for the standings. Koalia, Windcloud,
You're
and Noodle
joking
Brain,
me. You're joking.
92 points.
You're actually joking right now.
So this is the conditional now. If any one of those players wins the next race,
Or
or
gets
places
second. Yeah.
P2
Yeah.
ahead of their competition,
This
they
is
win the tournament.
this is probably it. I mean, there's a reason they're all at 92 right now. They've been doing the best in the lobby. So everything points to those three, at least one of them getting top twos. So this could very well be it here for our tournament. And it could not be closer. Maybe a little recount. I see the standings changing a little bit, but this could
Yeah.
not be closer. I cannot believe how this panned out. And this just goes to show how much potential there is for Kart Rider esports. Like, we're still in the early stages of making tournaments. We have people kind of still picking up the game, but we have a lot of established players that are literally locked up in skill level, which makes for such a spectacle when they're all trying to win a tournament. And it could not be closer amongst our top three. There are ways for Freaky to enter the conversation. I think the bottom 4 are more or less out, but this could be it right here. Windcloud, Noodlebrain, Koalia. If any one of them get top 2, this is going to be over, and we're going to have a winner. I cannot wait to see how this unfolds. Shout out to all these players.
Yes.
Super intense. A lot of pressure on all these guys. Got to avoid those mistakes. Looks like we're going to get into snowbound slopes, a longer track, not a short and sweet one lapper. It's a 2-lapper, and it's pretty long. So lots of room, lots of little sketchy spots on this track, little places where you can get bumped and lose a lot of time. So it's going to be a big balance between sending it and playing it safe. Who wants it more? Who can rise up when all the pressure is there to become our champion? I can't wait to see this unfold.
I think the irony in this situation as well is, for instance, if Freaky or Magic or Broxy or Sarah or Yisk gets out into P1 ahead of Windcloud, Noodlebrain, or Koa, it would honestly almost be in their best interest to try and just defend against who could potentially be in that 3rd place spot because they will win. If you place P2 here and you have 92 points and none of your competitors place ahead of you, you take the tournament. You take 1st place.
Yeah.
So that's the real big question mark right about now. But there's still very real potential. For instance, if Freaky places in 1st place and Windcloud or Noodlebrain or Koa places P1, they might be able to overtake one of the players that is currently tied for 1st. So snowbound slopes, the potential final scene here for this tournament, and very likely so, as our fastest players all now in direct competition to see who will be the winner for the solo speed event.
I'm on board with Noodlebrain here. I think he's made a lot of huge moves. Like, he didn't start... I remember we talked about it earlier in this finals. He didn't have the greatest start to this finals, and now he's kind of surging back, getting in the top 3, trying to win the thing. So I'm watching Noodlebrain also getting 1st in that last track. Really interested to see what happens. Freaky in front to start. Sarah in 2nd. Pretty simple U-turns at the start here, but this is where it could get sketchy. You go through this mountain, and there's ice, there's this little thing right in front, inconveniently placed with the ladder, you have to go around that. There's this pillar in the middle of the ramp. Why is that there? Who put that there? Not cool. And then if you don't boost here, you're in a lot of trouble because there's an uphill, and there's that log that we saw Dows. I mean, there's just a lot of sketchy parts there. Looks like everyone navigating through here without too much trouble. All these players are still in contention. The top 8 incredibly close. Windcloud, though, trying to make a statement. Windcloud in the top 2. Remember, Freaky in 4th has got a lot of work to do, but Windcloud, we're really going to have to watch him because he's had a great tournament so far, and Koalia right up there with him, so this is as close as it gets. Getting through lap 1, going to the ski lift. I remember when this happened last, I think Koalia won in the last time they went on this track and had a huge move at the start of the 2nd lap. So let's watch here as they get to the top. Who can make the moves? There's a couple tight U-turns you have to make at the top of this mountain before you get to that line. Looks like everyone relatively smooth through those U-turns. I'm still watching Noodlebrain in 6th place, but the battle is that top 3 right now. Freaky, Koalia, and Windcloud. We know, again, Koa, WinCloud, and Noodlebrain are fighting for that top two to go for a victory in this tournament. Noodlebrain fading away a little bit, trying to claw back. But kind of destiny in Koalia's hands right now in first place. Did really well on this track the last time it was played. Can they hold on?
We do get a little bit of space here. I'm spectating Freaky. Wasn't first. Oh, Colia has a
Whoa.
massive moment into the wall. Tries to
Oh,
take this
no.
Apex. Now overtaken by both
Noodle.
Noodle and WinCloud. Noodle
Oh, no.
the P2 was having a disastrous race earlier on, but now
This is it.
the one potential match point leader. They just need to place in the top two and not be outplaced by their competition. Freaky still out here in first place pretty solidly.
I'm watching Noodle.
A distant second. If Coalia can make the move happen, that is the key.
Noodle's going for it right now. Just gotta look at this. Plenty of boost in the tank here. It's got at least a second round of Christmas tree. Oh no, Koalia makes the pass. Koalia making it through Noodle with a catastrophic crash at the end, and Koalia's gonna hold on to second. Freaky first. Koa takes it. Noodle falls, and that does it. Oh my gosh, it's over. Koalia winning our item tournament, winning our speed tournament. Why did Nexon send me things? Nexon, just send them straight to Koalia. I don't need to be no messenger. I don't need to pass any items along. Koalia, absolutely dominant. Unbelievable. Winning an item, winning in speed. We'll let it be official, but I think I'm okay at math. I'm pretty sure that's what we're looking at. What a tournament.
Get the final standings here in just a moment. We actually had another tie, WinCloud and Yiz, both placing 2 minutes 36.698. But of course, that's not the story that we're paying attention to. Bronxy also with a DNF, but these are just details at this point. We're looking at our final standings, Axel. They are updated, and oh my god, it was a close one. Our top four, after 100 points and what was it, 15, 16 races in total? We don't even have that many tallies on the list. We had Koalia coming in first place, 100 points, followed shortly by Noodlebrain in 97, WinCloud 96, Freaky at 95 points.
Oh my gosh. And it literally came down to the final 6 or 7 seconds of the race. Noodlebrain was in control of his destiny. He was in second place. He had like a second gap behind him. Not only that, as I mentioned, he had plenty of boost in the tank. Like, there's situations where you're like running out of boost, you're trying to get that boost back kind of desperately, but Noodle was fine. He had plenty of boost to work with, but he ran into a tree. And that's like a classic hilarious thing that everyone has done, but this is definitely the moment you wanted to avoid that. And with that collision, Koalia coming in with the pass, securing second place. Shout out to Freaky getting first and just hoping things worked out behind him. Freaky needed to get first, and that's exactly what he did. And I am just overjoyed by our standings here. I mean, 197, 96, 95. What a cool day. What a cool tournament. Thank you to all the players who participated. I certainly did not expect it to be this close at the end, but I could not be more thrilled about it.
Yeah, just utterly fantastic stuff. And you talk about Freaky, doing literally all that they can. Noodlebrain in fourth, WinCloud in fifth. If they had both placed one position lower, Freaky would be P2 for the tournament, right?
Well,
Or they might
have
be
another
tied
race.
with Noodle. They might be tied with Noodle, and then we'd have to do an ace match to decide who our top three are. But what an impressive day of Kart Rider overall. And even then, we saw the stories. Magic 67, 64, and 62 for Sarah Slays and Bronxy as well. Yes, down there at 44. It wasn't quite Yes Day, but for Bronxy, for Sarah, and for Magic, at many points during this final round, we had to consider the very real possibility that if they got a critical P1 finish and there was maybe a little bit of a mistake from our top four, leaders, they could very easily have gotten back into contention for the top three. So it was certainly a tournament to behold, and yeah, like I said, we're planning to run another solo speed tournament April 1st. We want to make plans to have more stuff, and I have every faith that it'll be just as competitive as what we've seen today.
Love it. I mean, if this is a glimpse of the potential of Kart Rider esports, everyone watching who is a fan of this game should just be
What's not to love?
feeling great right now. I mean, that was just such a great result. Could not be closer at the end, and bodes well for the future. So everyone keep an eye out for the tournaments we have going on. Join that rivals circuit Discord to stay involved. Keep competing. Keep participating. I got to do another plug of kind of the reason that this tournament came together. I'm here at Gamers for Giving in Ypsilanti, Michigan. It's a BYOC annual event where we raise money for kids in hospitals. I think we had some donations come through during that race. We're up to $226 raised on our Twitch fundraiser, and I basically have two fundraising platforms. There's Tiltify and there's Twitch. So whatever's easy for you to put a donation through. We're raising money for kids in hospitals. They can, have trouble passing time in hospitals. So what Gamers Outreach does, they build video game kiosks that can be wheeled from room to room, and some kids are literally prescribed video games in order to help with their improvement. So, this organization puts video games in hospitals, enabling them to be wheeled around from room to room, so kids can stay entertained and get healthier faster. So that's our mission here. That's why this tournament happened, and I'm here at the BYOC in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Squid, you've been to this event before. You could probably speak to
Yes,
how
sir.
awesome it is, but thank you so much. $50 donation from Piscator Josh, my guy. He's one of the first people he's a good friend of mine. He's one of the first people I would not stop talking to about Cartwriter and my excitement for the future. And I think this pretty much defines exactly that. Could not be more exciting. Could not be more epic. Again, huge shout out to all the players, and thank you, Squid, thank you, Ilya, everyone behind the scenes making this happen. And again, thank you for paying attention to this tournament and being aware of Gamers Outreach. And if you do contribute, really, thank you so much. And thanks for just watching. That's helpful too, just tuning in and just lending your attention to the events going on here. But of course, special thank you to those who are putting up some money towards this cause. And I think in total, we've raised nearly $300, which is pretty awesome. The event as a whole is closing in on $500,000. So every dollar counts, and I'm really happy that we can contribute to that.
Yeah, it's truly an amazing thing, and we mentioned, we want to show that the car rider community cares, and I think we've done just that. Axel, we really kind of threw this together. We're trying to have a more casual tournament, but we can't help but end up having a little bit of a quality competition here at the end of the day, and I think it really just goes to show that we're gonna have to do some more. We're gonna have to
Heck
do
yes.
a
And
hell of a lot more.
coming up next week, I think it's already been announced. Tournament, you can sign up for that now. Make sure you get into the Discord. Something I want to mention, I got a seat at the BYOC at DreamHack San Diego. So I'm going to San Diego for DreamHack. I got a seat on the BYOC, very similar to setup to what I'm doing here. And I got some time in the creator section at DreamHack on Sunday morning. So I'm thinking about doing a simple event there as a part of DreamHack San Diego in a few weeks. So that's something else to look out for. But good times right now. We're still waiting on little fixes in the game, making Grand Prix more friendly, allowing for ping, more fixes with kind of latency and ideal lobbies. But at the end of the day, I think everyone in the community is happy that we can actually play this game and we can actually have tournaments with this game. So anyone who's kind of new, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to be hanging out. I'm not going to be streaming for too much longer. Kind of winding down here. It's been about a 7-hour stream. Kind of a grind, but an awesome grind. Could not be more thrilled with how the tournament ended up. And thanks again, Squid. Anything else you want to say? And I'll just be hanging out here on stream. I might play a few more games, but I got a few more obligations in the venue, so I'll be off and on.
Yeah, no, there's not much more to be said that hasn't already, been put out there. Just a massive thank you to the players. We wouldn't be able to do all this without you guys, and of course, being able to put this money towards a good cause. You guys give us the platform to stand on, and we're hoping to do a lot more for the Western scene for Cartwriter. So, your support really helps us all out, and we wouldn't be able to do these tournaments at all, if we didn't have people showing up, and the turnout for today, for next weekend, as we're looking for, has been absolutely phenomenal. So we just can't wait to work with you guys more in the future. Thanks so much.
Love it. All right, I am gonna start looking for someone to host, and we are going to. I think I'm just gonna sign off here because it's been a nice healthy stream. So let me see who's streaming some Kart Rider. Hopefully, someone from our tournament. Is anyone in our tournament streaming some Kart Rider? But
So I might just
yeah,
have
Squid, is
to.
there is there anything else you wanted to say before we sign off here? And once again, thank you so much for your help. Really cannot be understated how much awesome work has gone in behind the scenes. And thanks again for kind of jumping in with Kart Rider. I know it's kind of a newer game for you, but it's cool to see that you're enjoying it. It seems.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's just an absolute blast. You know, everything's on the table. I gotta get myself some food. I got some other work I gotta get done today,
Yeah, go for
so
it. Yeah,
I'm
man.
gonna hop on out. But yeah, thanks a lot to you as well, Axel. You know, I hope that we can get you in the loop with
I
some of
know.
our events here for the future as well.
I
So
know. I'm trying. I need to find out. I don't know how these guys are so much faster than me. It's a constant pursuit.
he doesn't want to cast. He wants to compete.
I
Oh my
know.
goodness.
I
Yeah.
inevitably I don't mind being the guy on camera either. So look
All right.
out. Definitely look out for more tournaments and more competitions to come. And thanks again, Squid.
Yep. I'll see you later. Have a good one, everyone.
See ya. And it looks like Koalia is streaming, so we're gonna hand a host over to the champion of that event. Very impressive indeed. Let's throw that over right now. So yeah, guys, thanks again for watching. Feel free to drop a follow on the stream if you like the content. I'll be here, streaming Kart Rider, streaming a lot of Kart Rider lately because it's obviously a newer game that's come out. So feel free to drop a follow on the stream, and that's what I'll be doing here. But that's going to close it out for me here at Gamers for Giving. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the donations coming through. It's not too late to donate. There's plenty of ways to do it. Buttons below the stream. Go ahead and click and contribute. And thanks to everyone who has contributed thus far. So let's go ahead and throw that raid over.